Where were you born?
Stockton, California,
Yeah.
1955. During the Great Flood, the valley was all flooded out after the levees broke. So my mom, she was on the south side of town. She had to go around the flood to get to St. Joseph's Hospital. So I was a problem child right from the beginning.
That's funny. Did you like live in Stockton?
Yes.
How long were you there?
Um, till I was, I think it was 13, yeah, 13 years old. So after my mom had divorced and remarried, then we moved to a little town outside of Riverside called Rubidoux. So, but I've moved around quite a bit. I went to 4 different high schools in 3 years. Well, we were in Rubidoux because my stepdad, he worked for this. Well, they both worked for the state of California. So, but he was like some kind of bigwig. So they kept moving him around. So first we were in Rubidoux, and then he got transferred to Bakersfield. So then I went to North Bakersfield High School, and that was a trip. I was going to that school for 2 weeks, and then I started looking around and go, everybody's white. Well, the rumor was that in North Bakersfield, they used to brag that no blacks lived north of the river, And, we had some, I don't know, people used to drive by, young kids, calling us names and throwing stuff at us from the truck. But I don't care, just our remarks back at them. Nobody ever stopped and caused trouble, though. But then we moved into town, and then I went to East Bakersfield High School. And
Is that as good as the other
it was multiracial, but I was hanging out with a bad crowd kind of at that time, and that's when I got shot.
Oh,
And see, I always was doing good in school, but then that kind of threw me for a loop, and my grades suffered and stuff. And then they moved to San Francisco, and I decided to go back to Stockton. So I went to Rubidoux High, North Bakersfield High School, East Bakersfield High School, and then when I got to Stockton, I went to Stagg High. That was the beginning of my junior year, and then that's when I started smoking pot, and so I used to be straight A student, and then my grades started deteriorating, and that's when I started selling weed at school, and then they asked me to leave. So I was supposed to go to continuation, but instead I decided to go into the Army. At the time they were offering, it was the beginning of the all-volunteer Army, and so they were offering a $6,000 bonus if you enlisted for combat arms, which is armor, artillery, or infantry, and I went into the infantry. So my cousin and I were supposed to go in on the buddy system, and so the recruiter took us, and so we could take our GED test, right? So I passed with really high scores, and then my cousin couldn't pass the math test, so they let me do it for him. So we were supposed to go in together, but probably maybe 6 months before that, we had gotten caught in a stolen car. But I was a minor, but he lied and said he was a minor too. But actually, it was one of the more friendly arrests I ever had, because we were kids and they just sat us on the lawn, and some lady came out with a tray of iced tea and stuff. It was pretty funny. And then my dad came and picked me up. You know, I've been in jail a couple of times, man. The first time was I was on a stolen bike when I was in grade school, and he never said anything, never yelled at me once. Every time he came to pick me up at the police station, but I didn't understand about that till later. But you know, that's another story. And then went to Oakland. That was the induction center, and then from there I went to Fort Ord in California for basic training. Went to Louisiana for advanced infantry training. That's where I became a mortar gunner. And then from there I went to Fort Benning, Georgia to jump out of airplanes, and then over to Germany. Um,
Just to circle back to what you said. You said in high school you got shot.
mhm.
Where did you get shot?
On my body, or
Yeah, body and location.
well, this guy was a jerk. Like, so we were cutting school as usual. And we went over to this gal's house, and because her mom had drugs there, you know, and her mom had a pistol, and she kept blanks in it. And that guy that day, he shot it at me right. You know, you can feel the wad from I got pissed, man. I said, don't ever fucking point a gun at me, you know? Then we went back to the next day, same thing. And then her mom had a waterbed, and I said, oh, a waterbed. I'd never been on one before. So I laid down, face down. And all of a sudden I hear from behind me, no, don't. And I hear the pop. And then, then I felt it. So the bullet went through the back of my leg and hit me in the scrotum. Very painful. So I jumped up and started doing the Mexican hat dance. Ah, you son of a bitch. So she said, let me look at it. Let me look at it. So we went in the bathroom, and I pulled my pants down, and she was wiping the blood, and then I passed out. So they said that I passed out and hit her, knocked her into the bathtub, and then I hit my head on the side of the bathtub. And then I heard somebody calling my voice from far, far away, you know, and then it started getting louder and louder. And then all of a sudden, boom, I woke up, and it was, you know, like you see the cartoons with the stars. Yeah, it's true. So luckily the general hospital was across the street, man. And so they were taking me over there, and this guy, man, because he'd been locked up before juvie and all that. So, you know, please don't tell him I did it, please. He was crying. I said, what are you crying about? I'm the one who shot, because he said, they'll lock me up again. So they took me over to the emergency, and somebody called my mom. And then the sheriff came in. He goes, you know where I got shot, man? He goes, did you try to kill yourself, son? I said, yeah, I stuck the gun in my ass and tried to blow my brains out. I said, get away. So then my mom showed up, and I told her, Ma, the bullet's still in there. And she goes, the doc said, it's not there, it's not there. I said, Ma, it's in there. So we went to our family doctor, and he took a x-ray, and there it was. You know, because I was on a waterbed. If the bullet would have passed through, it would have punctured the bed, you know. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it was still in there. So the doc pulled it out, and then they just given me shots for, you know, antibiotics and stuff. Now, I had been training martial arts up to that point, and I played sports at school. But after that happened, then everything kind of halted. So when I went to Stockton to live with my dad, so I wasn't playing sports anymore. And you know, I got involved, and then started hanging out with the you know, I wasn't doing any hard drugs then. I was just doing selling pot, man. It was funny, but and then went into the army after that.
Wow. Okay, so going back to the army, you said that you went to Oakland, you went to
Then I went to
Alabama.
Fort Polk, Louisiana. Now, when I was in Fort Polk, Louisiana, you know, we got a pass finally when we were going into town, and we're hitchhiking, and then this guy in this big Cadillac picks us up, right? And so we hop in, and then he starts driving, turns around, and looks at me, and he goes, "You know, you're not allowed in some of the places down here." And I was, "Screw you! I'll go anywhere I want." So he owned a club, and he took us there. Now these guys, I was like, I just barely turned 18, man, and these other guys were a little bit older than me, a year or two, but they were stupid, you know, or not stupid, but they didn't know anything. You know, they're kind of naive. So he took us to this joint, had to pay admission, $2 2 drink minimum. And there was girls, there were lots of girls, you know, but you had to buy them drinks and stuff. And I'm just there looking at stuff. I said, "Come on, let's go." And they go, "No, no." I said, "Dude, this is a clip joint. You're not, these girls aren't going to do anything. They just want you to buy them drinks. They're just here to take your money." So finally we left, and we got over to Lake Charles, and then we went to this, it was a big freaking club, man. Oh my God. And then we were drinking. I was starting to drink 'cause I drank whiskey, you know, and then these guys, those guys that I came with, and they said, "Hey man, this guy said he can get us some weed." I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, come on." I said, "He doesn't have them with him?" "No." He said, "He'll take us to the place." So I said, "Okay." So we get in his car, and he drives us way in the hell out in the country. And he goes, "Okay, you guys get out and wait here, and I'll be right back." I said, "Don't get out of the car." I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Don't get out of the car." And then, "But we can trust this guy. He's cool, man." I said, "Don't get out of the car." "Come on, man." I said, "All right, let's get out of the car." So we got out of the car, and the guy drove off. And I said, "Okay, we got to go find, a phone." They go, "Why?" "Because he ain't coming back. That's why." So we went, found a bar, but I had to wait outside. And then a taxi got us and took us back to the club. And we got there, and that son of a bitch was there. Yeah. And he was surprised to see us. So we went in there, and those guys, I had nothing to do with it. It was their money. It wasn't even my fight, but I started getting all liquored up, and then I got pissed, and then I went in to where he was shooting pool, man. And and we were eyeballing each other, and then I don't know if I said something or he said something. I was pretty messed up by then. And then he pulled out a knife, and then there was on the counter, you know, those round glass ashtrays, the
Yeah.
thick ones, and I took that and I broke it, and then we were circling each other around the pool table, and then we got outside, man, and then somebody came up and hit me in the back of the head, and I went down, and then all these frickin' people started kicking me, probably about 5 or 6 guys. So they beat the crap out of me. They kicked me in the head so hard they cut off the top of my ear. Yeah, so then they took me to the hospital, and they sewed it back on, you know. And I'm like, did I kick their ass? So, but you know, not the first, that last ass whipping. So, oh, that's another thing that happened to me when I got to Fort Polk, man. Um, when I first got there, and then I ran to a guy that I knew from basic training, you know. And so we went behind the PX to smoke a joint, right? And then we said goodbye to each other. And then I started walking towards the reception center because they had candy machines, you know. And then these 2 guys started coming up behind me, and they kept going, "Hey, man, you got anything?" I said, "Nope." "Hey, dude, you got anything?" "Nope." Let's go, "Please." we've been here and we haven't been able to get anything. I said, no. And then they kept begging, please, please. I said, and I turned around and I threw them a joint. And then I turned around, kept walking. They said, hey, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And then finally I turned around, I go, what? And then he comes up to me, rips open his jacket and takes out a 45 and stuck it in my face. I looked at him, I go, dude, it's just a joint. You know? But they were all Starsky and Hutch on me, man. So they took me down to the station, MP station, and so I'm waiting for the whoever was on duty that night to come and pick me up. But what was weird is I was sitting there, and they had this guy locked in this cage, and there was like a plexiglass window about that big. And I'm watching this guy. So he'd go to the end of the cell and run full speed and bash his head against the frickin' window. And I'm like, And he kept doing it till it was covered with blood. Yeah, I'm going, holy crap, what's that guy on, you know? And so finally they came and picked me up and took me back. And then the day I was shipping out, they called me into the office and they had me sign up. They gave me an Article 15. So Article 15 is you're busted, but it's not, it's like, it's not anything they'll send you to jail for. You know, it's a non-judicial punishment. They take your money, they take your rank, you know, you're restricted, and it's not something they're going to lock you up for. So, and I said, what's this? And he, you know, because I didn't know anything about it, and they just tagged me on the way out. That's why they have a thing called a 201 file, and that's your military records that follows you everywhere. Yeah, so that's why when I got to Germany, when they put the light on me, they took me aside right away and put the light on me and asked me where the drugs. And I'm just going, you guys are idiots, man, in my mind. But well, anyway, after I left Fort Polk, that's when I went to Fort Benning to jump school. It was like probably close to 400 of us started and only like 175 finished.
Wow.
It was tough, man. That was just the hardest physical training, you know. So a lot of people dropped out or they couldn't discipline. But and at that time, also they were recruiting for a Ranger battalion, specialized fighting elite force, you know, and I applied for it, but that drug thing followed me. But but that was a cool experience, man, jumping out of airplanes. And then I got to Germany, and one of the guys I graduated with was there, and they sent him to Berlin. Berlin was like cherry duty, man, and they sent me to this freaking hole in the wall called Friedberg. But I guess it wasn't such a hole. That's where Elvis was stationed. Yeah, man, love Elvis. And
you didn't see Elvis there, did you?
no, he was long gone by then. I think he oh, that was, what did he die in 76?
Yeah, 77.
77, yeah, because I got over there in 1974.
Yeah.
But what else is going on? Oh, now another thing is I had, because I was a big Bruce Lee fan, so I had been training with the, you know, with the sticks, and I made my own, and so I got over there, and I started training with them again, and they took them away, and then, but I kept making them, and they kept taking them away, and then I started training the other guys, and they didn't like it, and then they wrote a special law to make them illegal. And I said, okay, and then I started selling hash over there. So, and once again, went for a big buy. I trusted some dumbass again. So I gave him all my money, that paycheck, and then he went to go make the deal, and he went in the bushes with this Arab guy. You know, who the hell does that size of a dope deal in the bushes, man? And then so he gets the stuff, and then he goes into a bar to go look at it. You know, he should have made the deal in the frickin' bar, dude. So he comes out and he goes, it's wax. It's all wax. You know, he got burned. See, what the guy did was he tore off a little corner that was prearranged and bit it off, and it was real hash, and he handed it to the guy, you know? And I was like, oh, shit. So after that, I started I was involved with the deal because we broke the stuff we bought, like, um, because they had names for it. Cookie Afghan, get biscuits about that big, about that thick. I bought plates of green spaghetti black. Those plates would be about like that, and it's just for the guys on base, because that time, smoking weed or the hash man was like, it was more of a cause, a freedom thing that people had a right to smoke, because I used to subscribe to High Times magazine and stuff. So, this one time I had bought that. I had just got a big plate of green, man, and then it came down saying that everybody load up, because I was on APC. That's where they mounted the 4 deuce, the guns, because the guns are about that big, and you drop the rounds into them. And my platoon sergeant was Daddy Duggar, man. And so they said, "Oh, we're going." We didn't know where they were going, where we were going, and we were like, because the hash was on the track, and so we thought, oh, they're going to go take it somewhere and search us all down. So, and then we got out there, and we didn't know what was going to happen. So I took that, stuck it down the front of my pants, and then Daddy Duggar, Ruiz, come here. So I was standing there talking to him for about 20 minutes. That freaking big old plate of hash, that would have sent me to prison for like 5 to 10 years. Yeah. And then we were going out to the field, and so I had that plate, and I had my guys at the crew, because I didn't really handle the stuff a lot. I supervised the buy, and we had gotten guys to invest, some investors, so we were buying good sized quantities. So we had these big old freaking tents, so we went in to cut it up, and I had guys stationed on each end. Then we were inside getting ready to cut it up, and then I heard a scuffle outside. So I went out there. All of us went out there, and there was this guy. He was weird. He was kind of a weird dude, man. And we all started beating the crap out of him. And then we got done, and then I turned around, and the freaking lieutenant's standing right there. He didn't say anything though, but he knows I'm the ringleader. So what's up? What's up, LT? And so he didn't do anything. They never busted me. They busted me once. We had gone to the field, and I had a piece of red like that. But when they came to the tent one day and called me outside, and then empty your pockets. And so I emptied my pockets, and they started patting me down, and I had a piece of hash about that big, and they found that. Then they busted me. And they didn't know what to do with me, because they knew I was still training the guys with the weapons, and then they thought I was dealing heroin, man. And I knew who was, and some guy freaking died. He OD'd, and his buddies took him, and instead of keeping him up awake, they took him back and laid him in his cot. We were out in the field, and he died, man. And the next morning, they had a big formation, and the colonel, was saying what happened, and then he's looking at me like, yeah. But then a couple days later, we were at the movies, man. We were in the theater military base, and we're all watching the movie. All of a sudden, all the lights come up, and then MPs are coming down both aisles. And I'm going, oh shit, these guys are coming after me. But they didn't. They walked down. They went down about 3 or 4 more rows, and then they look at the guy and they go, "Come here." So and they took his ass away.
That was a dude that might have been doing heroin.
Yeah. Well, whoever did that, they killed that guy.
Oh, dang.
I mean, from the overdose, whoever sold it to him. But his buddies left him. That was screwed up, man. So, so we're out in the field still, and one of the guys was, kept telling him, don't mess with that stuff when you're loaded or something, with the sticks, man. And he was out there screwing around. And he hit himself in the face, busted his glasses, hurt his eye. Then everybody was mad at me. Why did you bring those things in here? Now Dexter's all hurt. And I said, oh, F you. And I went to bed, and then the sticks were laying on my cot.
Yeah.
So the next morning, Private Ruiz, and I woke up. I turned around, there's the captain, and he's swinging the sticks. He goes, are these yours? I said, no, sir, never seen them before. And then he said, he took them, because they were in the open, so he couldn't bust me for it. And then I was freaking pissed. And then Big Daddy Duggar comes in and says, everybody get up, everybody get up. I said, F you, I'm not getting up. And then he kept telling me, and I said, no. And then everybody's going, Manny, get up. And then I said, okay. And he goes, no, it's too late. And he left, and he wrote me up for that, disobeying an order. So they locked me up for 2 weeks. But it was okay. The cell door was open, and I was just cleaning the rooms, and everybody was cool. It wasn't like Mannheim was the main prison in Germany, the military prison.
Yeah.
So when I got out of there, well, they had, because I disobeyed that order, and they called me into the before they put me in because they put me in jail once we got back, but when we were out in the field, and he goes, they took me into the captain's tent, and they said, Private Ruiz, we don't think you're, fit for the military duty, and we're going to discharge you. I said, yes, sir. And then we feel you're a detriment to this unit. Yes, sir. And so then they dismissed me, and I went outside. As soon as I got outside, I go, woohoo, I'm going home. And then the next thing I know, when we get back, he goes, we decided we're not going to send you home after all. He goes, but we do think you're a bad influence on, the other guys. So we're going to put you with the forward observer. Now, what the forward observer does, there's 2 of us in a Jeep, and we're separate from everybody else, because what we do is spot the guns. So we had 4 tracks with each one had a gun on it. So what we do is go where we can observe the range and see where they're shooting the guns, and then we give them coordinates to move the guns onto the target. So that's where they sent me. It was great.
Yeah.
And but then it came time to test the guns. I was the best. So then Daddy Duggar takes me inside his little office. He goes, Ruiz, we want to know if you'll come gun for us, if you'll man one of the guns. you know, because they've been freaking dogging me from day one. I said, hell yeah, let's go. So they put me on the track. It was like the track of misfit toys. Everybody on there was supposed to be a loser, man. But we got out there and we beat everybody. That was good. And the sergeant, he was a good friend of mine, Ray. You know, he was a Vietnam vet, man. Saw a lot of combat. So he was happy as hell, man. You know, because they kind of treated him like that too. But you know, we had some give him some stature around. That made me happy. So they finally, when we got back, and the captain took me in the office again, and you know, said, you know, we wanted to keep you, but you know, we got a way you can make a little bit of money for yourself. They wanted me to rat on everybody. I said, oh, well, let me think about that. In my mind, I'm going, F you. I never ratted on anybody in my life. But eventually I told them no, and they went forward with the processing for my, what I got was general discharge. So I got all my benefits, and I got an honorable under honorable conditions. You know, the only thing I didn't get, my discharge was in black and white. They're usually in color, and they took all my uniforms, so I was fine with that. But also during that time when I was over there, I had applied for warrant officer school to become a helicopter pilot. You know, and this one day they sent us to do this duty to clean up this classroom, and we're all in there messing around. And we wrote a big old FTA on the chalkboard, you know, F the Army. Yeah. And for unknown reason, the colonel showed up. Oh, he was pissed. And he said, who's responsible for this? Who did that? And I said, I did. So he took me outside, started talking to me, and then to give me the lecture, and then saying, you know, you say you want to be a helicopter pilot and you want to do crap like this. He goes, maybe I should have you come down here every day for 8 hours and draw on the chalkboard. And I go, yes, sir. Just make sure I have lots of colored chalk, sir. There went my helicopter pilot school. So also at that time, my first wife, you know, we knew each other in high school, and then, you know, and I flew overseas, but I came back. I took a 30-day leave and came back, and we got married during that time. And then the whole plan was I was going to go back, and she was going to come over and live with me because she had family in Germany. Her father had to live there. He got away at the beginning of the Holocaust. And she had her grandmother lived in Hamburg, and she was some famous German actress, you know, stage actress. So I got her over there, and it was cool, you know. But she only stayed for 30 days. She wouldn't stay with me. She went back. And then, but I had gotten us a place off post, you know, and that was pretty nice. There was there was two German families that lived there. The landlord who owned the building lived on the middle, and then up on the top they had another German family, and they were really friendly. The landlord, he was a veteran of World War II. He had been, the Germans, they forced him to fight, and he got wounded, and they sent him to Washington State in the United States for a prisoner of war. His brother got killed in the war. He used to tell me stories about that. And then the family upstairs, they had a little daughter. Her name was Bettina, and she was blind, little blind girl. So they used to throw barbecues out in the back, and I used to play with the little kid. That was cool. Now, because I was already making plans, because the guy who lived upstairs, he did antique replicas. And so the idea, because my wife was supposed to be studying interior design, and I was going to come back and go to school in GIBL and go get a business degree, I was supposed to set this deal to import antique replicas from this guy in Germany, man, but she was not a faithful wife. Crazy, man. I don't know if you want me to talk about that or not.
It's up to you. It's your story.
No, so I got back to the States, I'm trying to get things going, and I was going to roll over in DL. Because I came back to Martinez, when I came back to Martinez, because they had moved from Stockton out to the Bay Area. Her dad was in the National Guard. He was like, I think he was a major or a colonel in the National Guard, but he was also a professor at one of the colleges. And at first he didn't like me, but once we got to know each other, he was a pretty nice guy. And then so when it came back, and then it was like her birthday. I'd never bought her flowers before, and I brought her flowers. But I got drunk that night and passed out, and then I wake up and I'm looking for her, and we had been getting drunk with the next door neighbor. Then I went over and kicked his door, and there she was, man. And then she's like, "No, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go." I said, "You're not going any frickin' where." I said, "We're gonna stay in this house. You're paying half the bills, and whatever, And then okay. So we started like leading separate lives, And then everybody was around there was like still hippies. All those old hippies in Martinez now, they were all young back then. So I made friends with the guy she slept with next door. They used to have parties, and people would bring their guitars and stuff and have. So I met one of the guys there, and he said, "Hey, we should go out to the club." And we went out. We picked up this gal. She was really cute, and so we were doing. We were going to go to the club, and he only had 2 hits of acid. So her and I split one. So the joke all night was I'm looking for my other half. And we weren't doing anything. We were just having a good time. And then I brought everybody back to my house, right? And then we're sitting there in the living room, and my wife, her name was Sandy, so she went and sat in this chair in the corner, and we're just sitting there laughing and giggling and having a good time. And then she started weirding out, my wife. She didn't take any drugs that I knew of. I hadn't seen her all night, and she was sitting in the corner in that chair, and she just started pulling her hair out like this. And we're all on acid, we're all freaking out. What are you doing? What's she doing? Finally, I got her, grabbed her, yanked her, and took her in the other room. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "What are you doing with that girl?" I said, you screwed the guy next door, and you're asking me what I'm doing with her, and we weren't doing anything. But it was that was such a weird relationship. And then I was working at I got a job at a Safeway over in Rossmore, and eventually I just screw it. I mean, I did eventually. I was very promiscuous when I was young, so I ended up doing that girl. And then I was dating. I was 19, and I was dating this nurse. She was 26. She was the head of the emergency at John Muir Hospital. She ended up, her boyfriend came back from Hawaii and she went to Hawaii with him. And then eventually I just said screw it and came back to Stockton, man. That's a whole nother set of stuff. But anyway, I'm trying to think if I left anything out in that period. No, that's pretty much a lot. So all that stuff. So all that stuff before I turned when I, when I was 19 years old. So, but is there any? Do you have any questions?
Yeah. So with her, that was your first wife, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so it sounds like it was a short-term relationship.
No, we've been together. The marriage was kind of short term,
Yeah.
but we're in high school. It's a couple of years.
But then after that, you said you went back to Stockton, and then it was over, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was over before then. Um, Actually, because her and one of her boyfriends bought me a new guitar because I was playing guitar. He was pretty cool. After the initial hurt and all that, and acceptance, and our lives were separate, and I was fine with it. Um, and then so what else did you?
So after that, you went back to Stockton,
Yeah,
and then what about you had a second wife because you have a son?
not for another 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I forgot. There's still a little bit of Germany. So my my friend Tom, I grew up with him, grade school. He had joined the army too, and I'm over in the motor pool on top of one of the tracks working, and he comes bebopping into the motor pool. Tom, he hunted me down. So he hung out with me he had leave, so he hung out with me for a week or two, and we ended up we went to a concert. A bunch of us loaded up in a car, went down to Stuttgart. It was a drive, man, and we went to that concert. It was weird. That summer in Germany was the hottest summer they'd had in 60 years. So um, Wishbone Ash was the headliner, but we saw Ike and Tina Turner together out there, and Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin. He was a guitar player. Um, and that was pretty cool. And then I saw Tom off. And then my brother was over there too. And he was in the city of Mannheim. That's where the prison is. But both of us had come into the army illegally because our dad signed the consent and he wasn't the legal guardian. My mom was. So my brother used that to get out. And so I went to go visit him up in Mannheim for the weekend. And then I put him on the plane when he took off. And then I went and hooked up with him again until I got back to Stockton. After I got to Martinez, I got back to Stockton. So it was good to see family over there when I was over there. Because I was having a lot of problems. Um, that's when I used to get those anxiety attacks. They would get so bad, I was so full of fear, and I would pass out. And that happened over there a couple of times. And also took a lot of psychedelics over there. They had the best acid I ever had in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, I was freaking, but I don't know, like I was always seeking danger. So I went into town and go to the places that were off limits. You know, GIs weren't allowed to be there, but I went there anyway, looking for smoke, and I don't know. And I had rank one time I had one stripe for 2 weeks. But the thing is, they gave me the responsibilities of almost a sergeant, you know, because I was when I was on the track working the gun, you know. But it was weird. It's like I was trying to hide when I went over there. I had people call me by my middle name. I didn't want anybody using my first name.
So you said you moved, or you went back to Stockton, and then after that, how long were you in Stockton before you came out here?
Before I came up here, it's not that quick. There's a long journey around coming back to coming here. Because I was over there. What did I do when I got to Stockton? I worked several jobs, you know. I was working at a trucking company, and I worked at the Holiday Inn washing dishes. It's funny. My brother, my brother Andrew, I was hanging out with him when I got back, and that's when we were both drinking. But he'd go crazy when he drank, man. We used to like fight every weekend. One night he cut me, severed all the tendons on my left hand. I still can't close it right all the way. But still, I love my brother. I'd do anything for him. So
How many siblings you have?
I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. All the boys are younger and all the girls are older. So and he and I used to hang out. This one time, so we were over at his apartment and he was building this bar, right? And so he needed a piece of lumber. So they were building some new houses. So a friend of ours was there and we all went over in his truck. And then we went and grabbed a piece of plywood and threw it on the back truck. And then, woo, there was a cop sitting there. We didn't see him. And so the cop gets out, gun drawn, tells everybody, put your hands on the truck. So everybody's spread except me. I said, no. He said, put your hands on the truck. I said, no. And everybody's going, Manny, do it, do it. And then the cop comes up to me and put the gun against the back of my head and then clicked the hammer back. He goes, you want this to go off? I said, you're the one holding the gun. But he's a cop. He's not going to shoot me like that, you know. So eventually I did, you know, and then they took us to jail. They handcuffed everybody except me. And then my other brother, John, he was 17, so they took him to juvie. But now this will take you back to where I was talking about when I got, the police took me, and my dad never said a word. All the times he never said a word. And so they had us locked up, and then we went to court, right? And then it was a burglary charge, even though we just went into a garage, but because it had 3 walls and a roof, it was considered burglary. So it's my turn. I get up in front of the judge, right? And then there was a file like this thick, and the judge starts thumbing it. He looks at me and goes, "How old are you?" I said 19, and he's looking through it. He goes, "Oh, this is your father." Everybody in the court started busting out laughing. My dad was sitting there. But it happened, the judge was an old fishing buddy of his. So, well, the charge got reduced to a misdemeanor. And then me and my brother got locked up for 3 days over in the county jail. But, I've been taken in a few times for the drunk tank. I got a DUI. The only DUI I ever had. This gal that I was seeing, kind of, while I was, screwing her. And then they had a little going away party for her. There was like a fifth of vodka, and then she split, but there was, see ya, leave the bottle. The last thing I remember is I was hitting that thing at the kitchen table, and then the next thing I know, somebody's pounding on my window because I came around this corner, jumped over the center divider, and hit another oncoming car. And they were just going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And they took me to jail. I was okay. The car was messed up. And that's the only DUI I ever got. But back then, they weren't, you know, not like today. I had to they told me traffic school and $300 fine. Yeah. But then the second night I'm supposed to go to traffic school, I'm getting there and he's just closing the door. I said, "Hey," and he said, "Too bad," and he closed it. And I was just like, so I didn't pay the fine. I didn't go to the drunk school, but that caught up with me later. So those times, and then I was just bumming around. Then I was I was I always worked hard. People always picked me for special jobs. I had started working at this restaurant called Epaminondas. In Sacramento, he has coffee shops called Epi's. It was a Greek restaurant, and I applied there. They were still building it, sawdust on the floor, and I started out bussing tables. But I was I was always working hard, and then they wanted me to clean the place, so they hired a professional janitorial service and they trained me, and so I cleaned that joint, and then but I had friends come in and help me. They always locked up the liquor, but the beer taps were always open, so I paid the guys with beer. Um, well, that place eventually closed down, and still just bumming around. And then my brother-in-law's brother opened up this. Then water beds became big, so I started working for his brother, making water beds, and that was cool, man. I enjoyed doing that, working with the wood, and around that time, man, there was a lot of different women all along the way. Back then, I chased married women back then. This one time, because I had this little, we were in a duplex. Um, the next door neighbor came over, this gal. She was freaking beautiful, man, and she wanted me to give her a ride. So I took her because she was dosing, and I didn't know what that was at the time. And she explained to me. She came back to the house, and then we were sitting in my room on the bed, and then I kissed her. I was gonna, but then she had these big old sunglasses, and she took them off real dark. She took them off. Both her eyes were black. He gave her black eyes, both of them. And so I said, I can't do this, you know. And so she went home. So I don't know if it was that night or the next night. It's nighttime and I'm driving home. I'm pulling into the carport and there's this guy all dressed in black in the back and he's waving me in like this. And I start pulling up real slow and all of a sudden I see the gun come up. And then I slammed in reverse and pow, pow, pow. I hear the gun going off, but I'm laying on the seat driving, you know. And so I go and I make a phone call. I said, I need a gun, dude. And so I come back with a carload of drunk Mexicans and drunk Irishmen. We're all messed up, looking for this guy. So now she had told me about this guy. And he was the most dangerous man I ever met in my life, man. Not because he was some bad dude. It was because he had inoperable brain cancer. So he didn't give a shit if he killed me or not, you know. So I carried around, I had a sawed-off shotgun that I carried around for about 2 weeks. So I'm sitting in the living room and then I hear a knock on the door. You know, not like a pounding, it's just like a small knock. And I go over and I look out and it's his kid. He's about 10 years old and out the door. I go and I look at him. He goes, "My dad says you don't have to do this anymore."
Wow.
I said, "Tell your dad." I said, "Cool." And that, but now my buddy Tom just called, but my real running partner back then was his brother Mike. You know, in grade school together, we, you know, partners in crime for real. Since growing up, man, and he's not doing so good now. That first year I got sober, and he was in a detox over there behind the County Hospital in Stockton. And I went out there to speak, you know, and then or to share, wasn't a speaker. And then he took me aside. "Hey, Manny, what's the real deal with this AA thing?" I said. So he'd been in and out. His girlfriend died a couple of years ago from that. But you know, I'd go and check up on him every so often, but he never he was he was clean for a little while, I guess. But he's heroin addict also. Got hep C, got a bunch of crap wrong with him now. But a lot of those guys that I went to grade school with, man, they're freaking dead now. Drugs. One of the guys died from AIDS from, you know, drug users, man. But I'm alive. God keeps me alive for a reason. So, you know, we were sharing about that. Oh, well, that meeting today, you know, because with Mike, me and Mike and his brother, we were the outlaw altar boys.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about that. You know, when people talk about they were talking about step 2 and the spiritual thing. But, you know, for me, my spiritual journey started back when I was a kid, you know. That's when, you know, in the early 60s, when the frickin' mass was in Latin and you get smacked if you fall asleep, then, but religion for me at the time, because I equated it with pain, you know, if I didn't do it. Because I got hit at home. My dad was a violent alcoholic, bar fighter, woman beater. And then I go to school, and the nuns in the early 60s were freaking they were violent too, man. They were mean. But I just became very resentful. And it wasn't because I always believed in God, but you know, it was always somebody's perception of God put upon me. And I rebelled, man. I rebelled. So my family, we used to go to, my grandma lived in Burbank. We used to go to Mexico and go down there, buy a bunch of switchblades, and I'd go back and sell them at the Catholic school. And I don't know, man. I was just, you know, I stole from the church, broke in and robbed them, busted open the poor box and stole from that, stole from the collection plate when I was a altar boy, graffitied the side of the church. Just total rebellion, dude. And then, but you know, I had problems too, the fear and the pain inside me. But and at times through my life, I had reached out for God, and I felt like I was being rejected until it got to the point where I didn't feel worthy. Like when I was in the army, you know, and we were out in the field. I went to that little chapel. Of course, I was freaking flying on acid, man, and I'm crying and telling God to help me. Give me a sign, give me a sign. And that's when the guy from the back of the church, the chapel, walks out and said, "Get out, we're closed." That's it. Okay, God. But you know, like I tell people my story, I look back on my story and I can see where the hand of God interceded on my behalf, that I'm still alive today, you know. The car wrecks that I had, you know, because I had that one in Stockton, the DUI, but the other times I was on the Santa Monica freeway and I was high and some guy cut me and I hit the brakes. I hit the center divider, the concrete center divider, and smashed. Then a truck came and hit me and spun me around and I was facing traffic. But it was weird because the whole front of the car was smashed and the whole back of the car was smashed, but I wasn't hurt. But and you know, the time getting shot and then, but I, you know, I didn't know what kind of purpose yet. I mean, I understand it a lot better now, but I was still a long ways away from where I'm at today, sitting in this chair. So I was working at the waterbed factory, and then it was going under because the guy was a frickin' crook. So then he said, "Hey Manny, we're going to Texas. You want to go with us?" I said, "Sure." So we all packed up and headed out for Texas because he had family over there. So we were heading to Del Rio, and then he had family on both sides of the border. Del Rio and then Acuna was the city on the other side of the border. And it was, I don't know, it was a strange adventure. Everybody thought I was weird because I didn't speak Spanish. Oh man, they were so touchy on the other side of the border. People wouldn't talk to me, man. Even we were freaking, I was all loaded. We went to this, it was a freaking whorehouse, dude. And the girls came up and were sitting on my lap and stuff. As soon as they found out I didn't speak Spanish, they wouldn't talk to me anymore. Oh my God. So then made way up to Austin. That's where we settled for a while. And then this guy was just such a jerk, man. But his nephew lived in Lockhart, but I was in Austin for about a year. And that's why I was working at the pizza shop. But also I was working help build, because I was, I could swing a hammer, man. So I was what do we do over there? Help build a church, help build a house, was on the road, help work on a bridge over there. I was hanging over the side with a jackhammer, a lot of things. And then ended up, wound up in Lockhart. And then there was this guy, um, his last name was Cavett. He was a good dude, man. And then we were working there building furniture. And then um, then he told me, I said, well, when am I going to get paid? He said, I've been paying you all along. I've been giving the money to your buddy. And I said, oh, man. And then it started the big fight. And then I told him to go screw himself. And then, but the guy kept me on. And then I went to go stay with the guy who burned me. I went to go stay with his nephew because I'd known him from Stockton. And so I started building furniture there. Um, and then my time in Texas, man, oh, Jesus. I was still all messed up, dude. Um, you know, the only thing was I lived in a dry county, so they didn't sell hard liquor. So I had to go across the county line towards Austin to pick up a bottle of whiskey. Or we went down to Mexico. Um, his cousin's name was Petey, so I hooked up with him, and then used to go down to Del Rio and cross the border and pick up big old quarts of frickin' booze and then come back. So he was working at the newspaper in Lockhart then, and he ran the printing press. So I went in there and helped him, and ended up dating one of the reporters there. She was a sweet kid, but she was kind of weird. Well, she was older than me too, I think. Yeah. Back then, I dated a lot of older gals, but I don't know, Texas. I really enjoyed the people there, but I was still like wanting more adventure. I was still way young. And one night I was drunk and I was reading this magazine. I was looking at it, the Foreign Legion. I said, yeah. So I called to try to book a flight because I thought they were still based in Algiers. And they said, we're not making flights there because of political unrest. I said, okay. I gave up on that. And then I was the magazine, and there's one of those big sailing ships, you know. You could go, it's not like a cruise. It's like you're working, you'll be a hand on the, but you're going to sail the Caribbean island hopping. So I called the captain and he told me what I needed to do. So I saved up this big wad of money. And then I was getting ready to, I was going to hitchhike to Florida and then, go to the dock wherever it was. And then when I was getting ready to go, and then my brother called me from California and wanted me to come back and baptize his son. So I wouldn't refuse my brother. So I ended up coming back to California. And I don't know if he was sober yet. I think, yeah, maybe. I think so. I don't, you see, my brother has a story. He'd had emotional problems since he was a kid. He wet the bed till late, and then he'd always on the bed he'd cover the blanket and he you know rocking back and forth. So when he was 24, he tried to commit suicide. He hung himself in his garage. And my other brother, well, his sister-in-law was there, and she heard something, woke up my brother, and they cut him down. And then that's where he hit his bottom, you know. And in 2 weeks, we're going to go celebrate his 43 years of sobriety.
Nice.
Yeah. God saves us.
Did he help you get sober?
Hell no. I said, get that crap away from me. I wouldn't get sober for 10 years after him, you know. And no, they couldn't say anything to me. There's just, but now, see, because I would go to the family parties and I'd be freaking drunk, whiskey, and they'd be sober, and they're sitting there looking at me, and you know, it's like, what the hell are you looking at, you know? And but that's how my dad used to be when he was drinking, man. And no, they couldn't say anything to me. I had to find my own path. But my brother did a lot of good, man. He got sober and he helped a lot of people. And then he started, at one time he was on the California State Mental Health Commission. He had gotten a job working over at, it was funded by the University of Pacific. And what it was, they had these long-term mental patients from mental lockdown facilities, like from Vacaville, you know, like that. And they were transitioning them into regular society. So he called them clients, you know, and most of them were on medication, you know. And he would just help them. And after I got sober, and I used to secretary meetings, I was in Tracy then, he'd put them all in the van and bring them over to the meeting and stuff, you know. He helped a lot of people. Remember one time, got the whole group and they bought a bunch of Christmas presents for kids and wrapped them. And then one of them dressed up as Santa and took them all over to the orphanage to hand out Christmas presents. So, but when I first got sober, he was there all the time for me. You know, can't help anybody till they're ready. And then that's when I was doing time between Pershing and the Island Fellowship in Alameda. That first Christmas, man, because I didn't want to go through Christmas again. Like the year before, man, you know, it's just feeling so worthless, man. And the family always had a big party and went to my brother's house and could hear everybody in there laughing and stuff. And I knocked on the door, and then my brother came in. I said, no, I said, I gotta go. I can't do this. But, you know, I've known a few people that got to that point of desperation, man. They end up taking their own lives. I've never ever thought about that. You know, it's just more booze or more drugs to kill it, kill the feeling. But so, let's see. So I came back from Texas and I ended up in San Francisco, 1980. Like I told you, so that DUI hanging over my head. So I got a job working at the Lighthouse for the Blind. My mom at the time was working for the state. She was she found jobs for veterans. You know, they loved her too. My mom was great, man. And so I was working for Lighthouse for the Blind. So what I would do is go pick up the elderly blind people and bring them back to the take them to the rec center. So I learned the city really quickly because I had to drive all over for those people, and then I got a job out at the Presidio working for the government, man. First day on the job, man. I had a loud muffler and the cops pulled me over, and right away they threw me up against the wall because of the DUI, and that was like 4 years before. So you getting tired?
No, just my eyes sometimes.
Oh, we can always finish this later
No,
because I'll talk forever, dude.
no, I want to hear.
So they arrested me and took me to jail, and so I called my mom, and it cost $800 to get me out of there, and then, but that was it. Didn't have to go to drunk driving school or anything. That cleared up the whole thing. So I was working out at the Presidio for Letterman Army Hospital, and it was San Francisco, man. The 49ers had just started their championship 80s decade, you know, and the AIDS epidemic had just gotten to town. I was working out with Presidio, and then I met up with Shelley Ray. She was this gal from Nebraska, and she was in the Army working up at the hospital. That would have been great, man, but I traded everything away. My brother was playing music in San Francisco, and I'd go to watch him rehearse and stuff, and then the drummer kept not showing up, so he asked me if I knew how to play drums. I said, sure. So he borrowed a drum and a cymbal from the guy who owned the studio, and I played with him that day, and I could keep time, so then there was music, man. And so my next paycheck, I went out and bought a drum set. And then practice, hours and hours. So I played the first gig. I had been playing drums for like 30 days, but what I did was all the music we were going to play, put on it. Back then they had the Walkman, so I put on a cassette, and I would just listen to it all day long at work. And I just tried to imitate what I heard on the tape as far as what to do on the drums, you know, because I never had any formal training. And then eventually that's all I wanted to do, and, you know, broke up with Shelley. I hope she's doing well. I think she is. And then I withdrew all my retirement from the government, and I bought the rehearsal studio, Secret Studios. And then all of a sudden I plunged into the underground music scene in San Francisco.
Nice.
It was, but then it was kind of terrifying too. Everything was different. I mean, I was exposed to a lot of different people, to a lot of different lifestyles. Met some kind of famous people, you know, along the way, but and I played, practiced for like 8 hours a day, man. And it was just wild, man. But those are some of the best and worst days of my life, man. Which was cool because I didn't know how to play that well, but my brother was great. He's a great guitar player, but he waited for me to catch up, you know. Yeah. We were pretty damn good at the end. And then, but It just got so crazy. I got so crazy with the drugs and the alcohol, and so eventually I ended up selling. I was partners. I sold my half of the studio and then went to LA. So the gal I was with at the time, she was a sound engineer, recording engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So we went down there so she could look for work, and oh my God, that relationship was so crazy. So we ended up getting a place in Hollywood, man, and I was just trying to. Well, that's when I was detailing. I was washing cars for the stars. Well, I got a job with the mobile detailing service, and we used to go to, I went to Cher's house, and we did Michael J. Fox and a couple of more other people, a lot of Mercedes and Rolls Royces and stuff like that. We'd go to their house and clean their cars, man. And then she got a job at Tower Records, but I think she cleaned up later on too. I mean, man, that freaking relationship. Remember, we were there during the big earthquake. Had this big 50-gallon gas fish tank in the living room, man. That thing was just sloshing back and forth, man. And we're holding on to each other's hand like that. I've been in every major earthquake in California since 1973.
Wow.
So
that was when you're in San Francisco with her?
No, I was in LA.
So that wasn't the 89 one?
No, but I had come back. I was in LA before that, and then I came back, and then they had the 89 one. And it was crazy, man. Oh my God. Just so much, man. So much happened. I mean, just focusing on one aspect, I can give you a story for an hour on just one little section, dude. I have, I don't know, very good recall, and the things are very distinct pictures in my mind and the events. So I can, I can see it right now, So when I was down there with that gal, one time she got freaking mad at me, man. You know those old cell typewriters, the all metal ones from the 20s?
Yeah.
Oh my God, she got mad. She threw that freaking thing at me, man, and it freaking hurt my arm. Then she threw one of those old stoneware plates from like the old diners, and it bounced off my hand and flew right into that 50-gallon fish tank. Oh my God. And then, so right away the fight stopped. Save the fish! Oh my God. Eventually,
Was that in an apartment?
yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And then met up with another friend of hers that was there. They used to be in San Francisco. They used to be with a girls band down there. And it was a trip because all these girls were like interconnected because they were full-blown lesbian or they were bi, so they knew each other like that, And so she introduced me to her friend, and I started hanging out with her. And she was a little rich girl, and she was going to PIT, which is Percussion Institute of Technology, and they have GIT down there, Guitar Institute of Technology, and there's all these like schooled musicians. Kind of shit. And well, because I was just a hack, I was just beginning learning too. So, but she had a band. God, I can't remember her name, but I used to go with her to her band rehearsal. She was kind of tomboyish looking, but the other gals in her band, I mean, oh my God. What's one of those glam rock girls from the 80s or whatever? Vixen. They freaking look like that, man. They're freaking gorgeous, man. Tall and oh my god! And so I was helping out with the band and kind of roading, and then my friend, the drummer, she was the drummer, and she got pissed at me and freaking kicked me out. I said, "Screw you." Some of the other girls called me and said, "Come back." I said, "Nah, I don't want to be around there." And but I have the centerpiece of my drum set is a snare. It's called a Black Beauty. It's a Ludwig Black Beauty, and now that thing's almost 50 years old.
Wow.
So I was getting ready to. My girl at the time, she borrowed $1,000 from her grandma. She goes, "Here, leave." So actually, we kind of divvied it up a little. I gave her some of that, but she brought it from her grandma so I could go back to San Francisco. But then she told me, "You need to go over there and get that drum. She's going to try and steal it from you." You know. So we went over there and we drove up to her back window and I said, "Hey, I need my drum." And she was pissed because Sylvia had told her that I still got that freaking drum, dude. But then that's when I came back to San Francisco, and then the music and it got crazier.
Let's pause for a sec, just because of the camera. Yes. Stop. We're at 50%.
I mean, there's a lot of the music stuff. There's a lot of stories in there, but basically when I got back from LA, and because my sobriety story begins pretty soon after I got back, because I got a job at the government again, and this time it was going to be different, and but I'll go into that later. I'll start getting to my bottom, but I'm going to talk about my dad and my mom. Now, got hit a lot. My mom got hit a lot. And my dad was a musician. He played in the drum and bugle corps. He played the cornet, played guitar. Came up from LA originally. That's where my grandma lived. So we would go down there every summer. And they'd go out dancing and drinking. My grandma loved to dance, And her husband, Big John, he was a nice guy. He was a lot younger than her. But he died before her, way before. He died from cirrhosis. So, and then we would go to Disneyland every year. Like I said, first time I went to Disneyland, it was in an open field and nothing was around it, when they first opened it. We'd go like every year, and then every time we went, there was more stuff around it, But when he drank back then, it's like he would see different things, He wasn't in reality, man. He would always be blaming my mom for stuff, and he would hit her a lot. And then sometimes she'd grab all of us kids and load us up into the station wagon and take off to get away from him. But we'd always end up at my grandma's house, and he'd know where to find her. grandma's house. A lot of memories there too. I'm in the south side of Stockton, and there was an area there, and all relatives lived right there in that area of Old Stockton, man. And every time I went to grandma's, there was always tortillas on the kitchen table. That's the first thing we ran to when we got there. And she put some beans in it, man. We used to go over there every Sunday and watch, we'd eat and then watch, that's when Walt Disney was on every Sunday. And then my grandma watched Lawrence Welk after that, or Bonanza, I forget. Oh my God. Lawrence Welk. But my dad moved us to the north side of town. They didn't teach us Spanish. They only spoke Spanish when they didn't want us to know what was going on. But he wanted us to grow up in white neighborhoods, which that wasn't a very good thing back then in the 60s, you know. Still a lot of tension then. But I know we had moved to Down Street because we were on the south side for a long time. Well, we started out, we were living in the migrant farm workers' huts. That's where we started out. And then we moved over by the county fairgrounds over in Nightingale. And then they bought their first house up in by the college on Down Street. I remember a lot of that. I used to sleepwalk then. And I was kindergarten. I remember the milkman used to come and make deliveries, and we'd run and jump on the back of his truck. Well, because they used to keep it in ice. The milk would be in ice. They had a big bin full of ice, and we'd go up and scoop the ice out. Until one day we ran up there and there was no ice because the truck turned refrigerated. Right. And I went to kindergarten over there. They used to, you have to bring a quarter for your milk money every week. Someday somebody slipped a slug or something in there, and they yanked me out, and that little guy was yelling at me, accusing me, you know. If I knew how to swear, I would have swore then. Shit. But then from there we moved to more the center of town, and it was a big house, man, on San Joaquin Street. But that's when the kids there were, you know, would call us names and stuff. But we fought back, you know, and I remember this one time when I got a paper out down there. My cousin was helping me. I remember I bought those switchblades down in Mexico. So we're delivering the paper, and we're going by this one house. I thought there was like 4 guys and a couple of girls sitting there on the steps, and I wasn't going to throw it up there, so I threw it down by the bottom of the steps, and he goes, come pick that up. I said, no. He goes, get over here and pick that up. I said, no. And then, so they got up and started coming towards us, and then I told my cousin, he had the knife. I said, give me the knife, give me the knife. So he gave me the knife, and they got close, and I went, and they all jumped back. And then we kept going. And then my boss said, hey, I heard you pulled the knife on some guys. I said, yeah, what was I supposed to do, let them beat me up? But it's funny because like later I don't know, that night or a couple nights later, I ran into those guys on the street, and they were being all cool and stuff. And then they said, hey, man, let me see the knife. Like they'd never seen a switchblade before. So I handed the knife over, and they were going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then one of the guys sold a bottle of booze from their house, because this at that time this was kind of a rich kind of neighborhood, you know. And we ended up getting drunk that night, and then I made buddies in the neighborhood, and a lot of things happened in that house. When I was a kid, man. One night, I hear somebody knocking on the window, and out the window, it's my sister. And that's back when in the '60s, man, the militants, and she hands me this thing all wrapped up, and there's a bunch of guns in it. She was with the brown berets. She goes, "Hide these for me." I said, "Okay." In that house, I started 3 fires in that house. And 2 in the house, and I started one in the garage.
This is your own house, or that other house of your friends?
No, this is our house.
Okay.
And then our neighbor used to get mad because we would always go out and play on the roof. Oh my God. And that's where my mom said that I saved her life, you know. And my friend said, because he came after her once. I think I was like 13 then, and I got in between him and my mom. That's when I told her, I said, "You need to leave him, Mom. You need to leave him." And she did. That's when she left him. And then, but we were living in that house for a while without him. He had moved down to the YMCA. But, you know, we were poor. That's when we used to go down. They didn't have food stamps then, so you went to the government warehouse and they gave you cheese and all that, you know, like in plain cardboard boxes with no labels or anything. A lot of things were happening. The church is going through a big transformation, you know, like they had those old school nuns I was talking about, but then they brought in, I didn't talk much about the nuns, did I? But the newer, younger nuns came in, you know, with the shorter habits and more, they were hip, you know. But see, when I talk so much about my mom in the eulogy, because a lot of people there didn't know her when she was young. You know, when she had all us kids, and she couldn't get a credit card. They said you can only get a credit card in your husband's name. You know, because they weren't divorced yet; they were going through the process and stuff. And so we used to have this big old freaking station wagon, man. And then one night I was going, "Where's Mom? I don't know." And then this Mustang pulls up in front. It's a 1968 California Special White with the pinstripes and the mag wheels. And I go out there to see what it was. And I go, "Ma, what are you doing?" She goes, "This is our new car." I said, "Crap." She goes, "Get in." I said, "Okay." So she was driving me around. What did you do? She goes, "You want to drive it?" I said, "Yeah." So that was the first time she let me drive it. And then, see, she couldn't get a credit card. So this is a friend of hers helped her buy the car, which helped her establish her first credit, you know. She was always so proud of her credit. She always had the highest credit rating, always, you know. And then, but when we were young, you know, she took us out. We marched with Cesar Chavez in the '60s. We were there when Bobby Kennedy came to town. She was always involved with projects at the church. And the freaking the church choir cut an album, you know, folk songs. Well, you know, church folk song. I still got that album. I got the plastic, the vinyl. But and when she got to San Francisco, because those guys were all Vietnam War vets. A lot of damaged, broken guys, and she helped them. She got jobs for them. They were always sending her flowers and thank you cards. In that house in San Francisco, man, it was like she remarried Dave Anderson. He was a retired Air Force major. He was navigator in World War II, flew 25 missions over Germany.
Wow.
But in fact, he once in a B-52 bomber, he flew with Lindbergh over the North Pole, and he resigned his commission at the beginning of the Vietnam War in protest to the war. He resigned his commission, but he was a good man. He was a good man. But my mom said he used to wake her up at night because he'd have nightmares about what happened up in those missions over Germany. But, you know, at the time, he treated me more like a son than my own dad, you know. But she did that all with all the veterans. And then she moved back to Stockton. And, you know, then we always had all the things at her house she always had the big Easter egg hunt at her house, and Thanksgiving and Christmas. You know, and the Christmas time, during the holidays, they make menudo and tamales, you know. They used to do that. Well, that tradition goes way back. All the Mexican families, goes back. And
Did your dad ever make amends to you?
I don't know. He and I, even after he got sober, even after we were both sober, we had differences. There was one time when he was drinking still, and I came home, and I don't know. Him and my brother always did the same thing, like they were jealous of me or something. Oh, you think you're so good? You think you're so badass? You know, he's drunk that night, and just leave me alone. Leave me alone. You know, and I was just a kid, and he was in the kitchen. He pulled out his knife and slammed me up against the wall, put the knife to my throat. I thought he was going to frickin' cut me, man. I said, Dad, it's me. And because you know, I look at he had those glazed eyes, and it's like he's seeing something different. And finally, his eyes cleared up, and then he backed off. And I confronted him about that years later because I had carried that around for a long time. And then he said he didn't remember. You know, well, what good is it carrying a resentment if you don't remember it? So, but you know, we always had differences of opinion until the day he died. But when he got sick, because he got a brain tumor, and it was long. But I was there with him at the end, at his bedside, holding his hand when he took his last breath. And but you know, my other brothers, they all kissing his ass all the time, agreed with him all the time. But you know, we argued over a lot of stuff. But he, because of Manny's mom, my dad never accepted Manny as his grandson. He thought somebody else was the dad. So I don't know. That kind of, just a lot of mixed emotions with this guy, you know.
Yeah.
I loved him. He was my dad. I hated him for beating my mom. sometimes I think he didn't like me, but at the end, you know, I think we were closer then than we had ever been. But, you know, growing up, he tried to do things with us. You know, we did Little League, and he took us fishing, kind of. I don't know. But I think he had 26 years sober when he passed away. And then my sister planned the funeral the same day as the memorial, his AA memorial. And then my sister, control freak, because we were both, my brother and I at the time too, we were playing with the praise teams at the church, but she wouldn't let us play. She didn't want us playing music at his funeral. So I chose to go to the AA memorial instead. Yeah. You know, and because the people, he helped a lot of people in that fellowship, and a lot of people loved him. It's funny because his favorite donut was maple bars. All the tables were full of maple bars.
What brand? What was that?
What do you mean?
Or you saying maple bars, like he ate maple bars?
From the donut shop.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, but what else? You got any questions about anything?
I'm not to get all personal with it, but
you can ask me anything.
Okay, so with your dad, you know, like you said, you know, almost like Joseph from the Bible, where the brothers were jealous of Joseph and stuff like that. Did your dad beat on you more than your brothers and stuff?
That usually happens when you stand up to him.
And you're the wise guy?
I tell you, I came back from the Army, and my dad came over there. He was trying to take my grandma's husband, and then he came at me, and I stood up to him, and he backed away from me. First time he ever did that, when I was 19. And I felt like a man, yeah, right. You know. And that was weird. It just seemed like the two of us were locking horns all the time.
Sorry to do this. As far as your brothers, who's the oldest and who's the youngest?
I'm the oldest. Then my brother Andrew, who's getting a 40-year chip next week. Him. Then my brother John, he's retired. He used to work at DVI. You know what that is? Outside of Tracy, they had Dual Vocational Institute. It's a prison. That was home base for Nuestra La Familia, for the Aryan Brotherhood, and for the Black Guerrilla Army. They closed it down. I don't know why, man. But so my brother retired from there. My nephew retired from there. One of our good friends, Reyes, he retired from there. I knew a lot of people that worked out there. What's funny is a lot of my cousins spent time in there on the other side of the wall. You know, they're doing good now. You know, they did their time, and I see them now. I see them at funerals. You know, because all the elders are dying off. My Auntie Dolores, we call her Auntie Loli, she's the last of my mother's brothers and sisters. We just celebrated her 90th birthday this last summer. Oh, wow. She's a tough old bird. Oh, that house on San Joaquin Street, the one I started the fires at. One night, she was over there with us, and there was a fire across the street, the house across the street. I didn't do it, though. And she ran over there because I was over at her house because her daughter was, my cousin was dying. She had this rare disease, and we were in the living room, and I was there, and her other daughters were there, and I said, "You know what? You see that house across the street?" They go, "Yeah." I said, "Your mom's a friggin' hero." I said, "That house was on fire," and she went in there and dragged the guy out of the house. He'd overcome with smoke. She went in and grabbed him and pulled him out of the house, saved his life. And then I go, "We never knew that." I look like my don't you ever tell them in stories, huh?
And as far as your sisters, were you the oldest of all the kids?
All the boys were younger, all the girls were older.
Okay.
So I was in the middle.
And was the oldest sister the control freak?
We used to fight all the time.
Yeah.
She used to beat up on me till I got big enough. But now we're like the closest.
That's awesome.
She's ailing pretty good now, though, but I don't know. She was always the hippest, you know. But oh my God, I remember one night sitting there watching the TV, and they're jumping up and down, screaming, pulling their hair. I look at the TV, I look at them, I look at the TV, I look at them. It was the Beatles. And I didn't know who they were, but you know, but then later, a couple of years later, then they were, you know, they've been my favorite of all time. But
The Beatles were the first original boy band.
rock and roll.
That's right.
But yeah, a lot of things, man. You know, and you start talking about stuff, then it triggers other memory.
Right. But that's good.
It is. Well, but it does some, like that meeting today was triggering a lot of memory. When I was talking about the spiritual journey, man, because that's why when I came in, but I talked about all that being an altar boy and all that, right?
Yeah.
And the things I did against the church, but when I came into when I got sober, but that was a long journey too, because I got back from LA, and I started working for the government again, you know, saying like, this is going to be, you know, it's going to be different. I'm going to work hard and get straightened out. And then this guy named Frank shows up. My brother brought him home. He goes, "Look who I found." He was a big dope dealer from the studio days. And so we had a party, got a fifth of whiskey, and he had so much freaking speed, man, just tons and tons of it, and just kept going all night. And then I should have called in sick, but I went to work anyway. So I had to drive over the bridge, and then I was going to Oakland Army Base, and to get on the post, you have to have a valid driver's license, registration, insurance, and then you get a sticker you put on. So I didn't have any of that, so I had to walk in, and so I started walking from the car, and then I think I started suffering a stroke because my legs started going numb, and I started dragging my foot, and then I got inside, and I told the boss I need to go home, and he said, "You're not going anywhere." So I was sitting at this like little podium. I'm trying to write, and I can't remember my name. I can't remember how to write, and the sweat was just pouring off me. And then he said, "Well, go on the UPS trucks here. Go unload the truck on the back dock." So I went back there, and then and now I was in the avionics department, so the parts aren't exactly light, you know. So I was out there, and I started going into seizures on the back dock, and I was saying, "Help me, help me." And they took me away in an ambulance to Kaiser, Oakland, and they did the exam. So they said that my heart was racing so hard it should have burst, that I was lucky I was still alive. So, but it also, there was a psychological as well, physical um, um, problem there. So it was like just all that fear that had been building up for years. It was one big mass paranoia. And so my mom took me back to her house. Um, I was laying at her house. I wanted to drink so bad, but I'd go to the front door and try and go out the front door, and I couldn't because I was so full of fear and terror, man. So she got me downstairs into the car, and they took me to Fort Miley. That's the VA hospital in San Francisco. And they got me inside the front door, and then I balled up. I couldn't move in the corner, and then they gave me some drugs and settled me down. Then I went back to my mom's, and then I called my boss probably 4 or 5 days later and asked him if I still had a job. He said, "Get your ass back here. Of course you got a job." So I went back there, and I was like totally ashamed, and I thought people were going to laugh at me or, judge me. But I got back there, and it was weird because people started hugging me and, saying, "We love you. We're glad you're back." And I didn't feel deserving of that because I knew what I did. I was a piece of shit. And but that first day back, then the boss called me into his office, and his name was Carlos. He was a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I think he had 12 or 13 years sober, and then he started 12-stepping me. And then he took me to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous over there on the Oakland Army base. And I was still freaking hallucinating, man. That's why I say my story. He had me in the car, and he's talking higher power, and he's pointing at a stop sign going, "And that can be your higher power." And I'm like, God, I thought I was the one on drugs. But that first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was expecting everybody to be broken and full of fear and pain. And I walked in that room, and you guys were all smiling and happy and talking about your lives and stuff. And they started sharing, and then there was only 7 of us in there, 7 or 8 people, and they got around to me, and I couldn't talk. I just broke down, started crying. And but I felt something in that room, but I couldn't put my finger on it because yet I didn't know there was a way out. I didn't know how to get there. And so I started going to meetings, but I still wasn't in the program. I was around the program, but wasn't in the program, Alcoholics Anonymous. So I stayed sober for about 30 days, or I was dry for about 30 days, and then I got drunk at my sister's wedding. Jesus, that was bad. So then I started drinking again, and then I was drinking at work, and then the boss called me into his office again and put the phone down and said, "I want you to call Palo Alto, the VA hospital in Palo Alto, or you're not going to have a job." So I called. I went out there and started seeing the psychiatrist out at the VA hospital in Palo Alto, and then he put me on antabuse. So I thought, everything was great, man. If as long as I didn't have any alcohol inside me, that I'll be cured for life. But I didn't realize at the time that it was an inside job. And so telling him, "Oh, I feel great. I feel great." He goes, "You better calm down on that Superman complex thing." So I did that for about 6 months, but in the end, I wanted to drink again, and I half-assed those meetings. Didn't work the steps, and then I was at work one day, and that fear started coming up again. I mean, terrifying fear, and I started hallucinating. Then a friend of mine, he was a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he took me to a meeting at central office, I guess, in downtown Oakland. But that wasn't, I was freaking going nuts. Then I called my brother to come pick me up, and then I had to ride. I had to go take Bart under the water, and that was like claustrophobic. I was going freaking nuts. And I got on the other side of the tube, and then my brother was there waiting for me, and he had a bottle of whiskey. And, I couldn't wait to crack that and feel that burn. And I felt okay with the world again until I drank too much. But by then I had started working over at Alameda Naval Air Station. And we're still playing music. And then I hooked up with a bartender. I was, 34. She was like 44 at the time. And then I was trying to stay sober. Then I started drinking again. And I got pissed off for some reason one Friday night, and we were living in a little cottage in Alameda over off Park Street. And I just went into blackout, and I just frickin' destroyed the whole frickin' house. So the next day, I had to work overtime, so I went to the to the Naval Air Station, and when I came back after work, the house was empty. And so I was drinking Saturday, Sunday. Then Monday, we had tickets for Monday Night Football. The 49ers are playing the New York Giants. So I had $300 in my wallet. We went and bought a case of beer and a fifth of whiskey. And we were outside in the parking lot getting all messed up. And then we went inside, and then I was going to buy everybody beers, and then my wallet was gone. And I was pissed off, because I couldn't drink the way I wanted to drink. And my brother bought me some beer, shit. And then so I went to work the next day. And one of the few times I had the correct address on my license. Well, I didn't have a license. I had a California ID card. I did not have a license for a while. And somebody and we dropped the wallet off with all the money in it. But that's happened 5 times to me in sobriety, where the wallets come back to me. And a couple of times there's been over $300 in it. But they brought that, and then they brought that on a Tuesday. I was still Wednesday. I was at the Shamrock Bar over in Alameda on Webster Street. I'd been drinking, and then I ordered a tall bud and a shot of Jack Daniels. And just at that point is when I made the decision that I'd had enough. I got up and left both drinks, left the bar. Then I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous at the Island Fellowship the next night. And you know, they did the introductions, you know, and they asked if this was your very first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I said, yeah, this is my first meeting. I've never been here before. And then they started, the topic was honesty. And then they started talking about somebody losing a wallet. and, then finally I raised my head. I said, okay, I've been here before. And then they just said, keep coming back. So I made the commitment to do 90 meetings in 90 days that night, but I got sick because I started going through the withdrawals, you know, and I was up at my mom's for about 4 days. I was real sick. And I came back and started going to the meetings. And like I said, I probably did about 240 meetings those 90 days. Just living in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was ashamed, you know, every time, because the room's not that big at the island. And there's nowhere to hide, but every time they call on me, I couldn't talk, man. I tried, and then I just start breaking down again. And it was being very ashamed. It was hard getting sober in the rooms. And like I said, then I started going to bigger meetings. That's why we went to the birthday meeting at Park Street. I took Sterling and Jack went with me over there. And that's the room, you know, where I was sitting way in the back that night, and I raised my hand and I said, it hurts. It hurts so much. Help me. And that's when everybody started to give me phone numbers and, you know, hugs keep coming back. And that changed for me that night when I reached out like that, you know. And we went in over there the other night. I hadn't been in that room for probably 12 years. The last time I was there, I did a speaker meeting. And I saw a lot of the people passed away that I had, you know, the old timers that I got sober with. But there was a couple of friends there, a couple of people. There was 3 people that I remembered. My friend Carol, she was the she was co-chair of that meeting, or co-secretary. I knew her. I had already been sober for a little while when I met her, so she's celebrating 39 years. So, but anyway, so I started feeling better about, you know, being more accepted, and then I still wanted to drink, you know, and I was living in that I was still in that little cottage behind over on Park Street. And when I finally surrendered and I did that 3rd step prayer out there in that little apartment, the obsession was lifted from me that night. And it was a miracle. For me, it was a miracle. And then a friend of mine said, you got to meet Jack. You got to meet Jack. He turned out to be my sponsor. And you know, I met him at the Island Fellowship that day. And the first thing he did, he shook my hand and said, Manny, you've paid your dues. You have a right to be happy, you know. And then I met him for lunch the next day. And first thing I said, Jack, I think I'm going insane, man. I can't. He goes, you're not going insane. All those people locked up in those crazy houses, they don't know they're crazy. I said, I guess you're right about that, huh? So that's he and I, you know, was my sponsor for 12 years before he passed away. Uh, anyway, so I was going to meetings and meetings and meetings, and then little Lloyd, this guy at the fellowship, he goes, Manny, you look like you walk the talk. I want you to come with me. And he took me to my first H&I meeting, where we did a meeting over at the Salvation Army, you know. And then I hadn't, you know, I went with him once in a while, but I hadn't dove into H&I yet. And then they started a sober bowling league, and I signed up for that, trying to stay involved. And tons of meetings, tons of meetings. Then I did my fifth step with Jack, and then I had about what 4 months, 5 months, and then this guy comes in to the Island Fellowship. They have a small room in the front. They call it the half measures room, and then they got the meeting hall behind that. So we're sitting out there in half measures room. This guy comes in. He's got a box, and he's going like this. He goes, "Manny, here, do my H&I meeting." I said, "I don't know what to do." He goes, "It's okay, man. You can handle it." And he left. So there was another friend of mine. He came in. He was in the Navy. He had like 4 years sober. And I asked him, "What do I do?" He goes, "I'll go with you." And so we went to that meeting. It was funny because it's the work furlough program off 23rd in Oakland, 23rd Street in Oakland. And when we first walked in there, and they thought we were bringing a Bible study in, and they were booing us and hissing, "We don't want that crap in here." And I remember something that Jack told me, because he used to be a prison warden in Boston area, and he said his inmates were doing the same thing, and he just told them, "Shut up, this is going to keep me sober." So I said, "Shut up and sit down, this is going to keep me sober." And I did when I started, because I was speaking kind of for that much time, and I started sharing just my story. You know, I didn't have much sobriety story, but I had, and they started listening, and then they started coming up and asking me questions and stuff, and then I started getting involved, and then this other guy, he had 12 years sober, and he asked me to start doing this H&I meeting with them over at Oakland Army Base for the VOA, which is Volunteers of America. So there was this so these guys are coming out of San Quentin, and they're nonviolent offenders. Most of them are drug cases that are transitioning. There's like a halfway house on the base, transitioning to back into society. And so we took that meeting out there once a week, and it's funny, you know, because he'd say, "Aren't there any questions? Anybody got any questions?" And they said, "We don't want to talk to you. So we want to know how he got 3 months." So I don't forget that. That's what I tell a lot of newcomers. You know, they can't relate to me. You need to share, so you know you're closer to them than I am. But and then I started taking secretaryships, and then I started going to the H&I meetings. I mean, I went to the H&I business meeting, and I took the see, because everybody wanted to work with the kids, you know. They picked the nice places to go, but I took the nobody wanted to do the halfway houses for the adults coming out of mental lockdown facilities, and I did those for a long time. Different.
How long did you do H&I?
12 years. Well, because I was doing it out there, and then I continued when I moved out to Stockton. But the last one I did here in the Bay Area is it was a kids meeting out at the state hospital, and they said nobody wanted it. These kids were the rejects of the rejects. Man, they had some bad stories. Those are and they didn't really lock the kids in. they would just take off. A lot of them were selling their bodies on the streets in Berkeley, and they would come back, to get for a place to sleep and to eat, and it was heartbreaking, man. But what do you do? But then we moved out to Stockton, and that's when I had when I was in Alameda, that's when I met my second wife. That was another Sandy, another Sandra Louise. She was a nurse over there at Alameda Hospital, and and we hooked up, and it was weird because that's when I met her daughters too. At first, um, see, because I didn't know what was happening. I had started dating her, and then I went back to her apartment, and we were in there. I was in there with her and making out, and then her daughter came in and threw a fit, screaming, "You said you'd never let another man into the house." And I didn't understand all that at first, but because it turns out that their previous stepdad had molested one of the girls. And but once she got to know me, she was cool. I mean, we still have a relationship today because I met her when she was 15, and she's been struggling with sobriety for a long time. She's got a little over 2 years now, I think. She's coming down for Christmas. She's up in Seattle, I think. But yeah, Sandra Louise, and we were starting to build a life, and then we were looking to buy a house because we lived in an apartment close to the beach in Alameda, but we started looking for property, and it was so expensive out here, and we kept going further and further in until we got to Stockton and bought a house out there. And then I don't know, man, things just started going bad. But she smoked pot, and I said, "That's not being sober. That's not clean and sober." I mean, she's still a pothead now. And I don't know, things. So we ended up splitting up, and she was at the house in Stockton, and she had both daughters were pregnant, and one already had a little one, and I was living in Alameda. Now, one of the guys from the fellowship in Alameda had gotten Jolene, that's the younger one, had gotten her pregnant, and he didn't want her to have the baby, and he was threatening her. And I had gone over there, told him to stay away from my family, and he said okay. And then 2 weeks later, that's when he calls the house and he goes knock knock and hung up, and that's when he came and drove his car through the front of my house. So when he did that, the one he came to kill my daughter, and she had gone to the store, and her older sister was there, who's pregnant, and then had the little one with her, just a toddler. So he came, drove tore out the front porch, and ended up in the garage. So luckily, I had a split level house, so the living room was up on top, and so the post at the bottom of the stairs, there was iron supports, and I guess they ripped through the gas tank and started a fire. And the neighbors came and got the daughter out upstairs and the babies. They got them out safe. And this guy was still in the car, and they tried to save him, and he refused to get out of the car. He just let himself be consumed by the fire, man. Crazy. Now, at this time, I was in Alameda. A friend that was renting me a room, and then my mom called me and said, "You got to come. You got to come home quick." She said, there was a fire. Somebody died, and then her cell phone went dead." So I was racing to get back, and then I get there, and you could see his car still sticking out, and because the flames went up over the top, over the front of the house, and then over the top, and rage, anger, hate, you know, and
What does it say about resentment?
I was pissed, man. Well, somebody tried to kill my family. I'm only human. So, well, I prayed about that. I talked to my sponsor, and I told, man, right now I'd kill him. I'd kill him because he will come back. But my sponsor said he's already dead. Said God did for you what you could not do for yourself. So I was going to meetings, just trying to do something with all this rage and anger. I went to a ton of meetings, kept talking to my sponsor, and then my daughter, the one he tried to kill, came to kill. She said, "I'm going to the funeral," and I said, "Crap." That was a message from God. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to a funeral. So we go to the funeral, and she goes and sits up towards the front. I'm sitting back a little bit, and people from the fellowship turn around and they see me. And they go, "What are you doing here?" Because I'm the one whose house he burned. I said, "I came with her." So they had memorial service, and then they were having a reception next door, and everybody was in line, and then it came to me, and she goes, "Oh, are you a friend of my son's?" I said, "I'm the one whose house he burned down." And then she just started freaking crying and crying and begging me for forgiveness, and just all that anger and hate just melted away, and just feel compassion for this woman. I said, "What are you talking about? That's just a house that we built. That was your son, flesh and blood." And I talked to her for a while, and then I went back into the church and made amends to him, because I had threatened him with physical violence like 2 weeks before. And but that changed me. That changed me. Sometimes God has some pretty hard lessons for us. And it was weird. They rebuilt the house, and then she wanted to come. She came to the house to visit. She had a little trailer, and she parked in the driveway, and because but that was later, because his daughter was born. Because I promised, when I made the amends, I promised that I would watch out for her, and I did. She was born. She was a preemie when she was born. I could hold her in the palm of my hand.
Wow.
And they had her in the hospital for a long time, all hooked up, and then she finally came home, and her grandmother came to the house where he died and visit. She'd bring her trailer and stay for a couple of days. She was a very nice lady. She was a trained classical musician. She's a cellist. I can't remember if she was in the San Francisco Symphony, something. I don't know if they still have contact. Well, she probably died by now. That was quite a while ago. But so then the kids moved on. Jolene started his life somewhere else, and her sister was going to. Her sister had graduated from school. She got a doctorate in forensic psychology, and so I was. Their mom couldn't afford to keep the house, so I took over the house. But I helped her buy another house, and then I was. Then I rented the house out to my sister, and I was still staying in Alameda, doing all my meetings and stuff. And then I came back to stay in Stockton, and then I hooked up with this tall redhead. I mean, I've gone through a lot of women. You know, when I was younger, man, they were just like throwaways. I didn't give a shit. And then, but this one, I tried to make it work, but I went and bought. It was Christmas Eve, right? And her daughter unwrapped all the presents, and I had given her a ring. And then we went over to my brother's for the Christmas party, and she took me outside, and she broke up with me that night. uh, so she took off, and I went inside, and I told my brother, and then he told his wife, and she was freaking pissed. She says, "Come on, we're going." Got in the car and went over there, and she went over there to that gal's house and kicked her freaking door and give me that. It was funny, kind of. So, but it's funny because Manny's mom was her roommate in the apartment they were in. So I started dating Manny's mom. Now I was like 42 and she was like 21. And she was a little wild child, but she was only in my life for a short while. Or the marriage, we were together for a little bit, but the way that whole thing started, man, because we had been, hanging out, doing stuff together, and then we had gone. She went to Oakland with me to work, and then we came home, and then there was this guy standing on it was at my house, or I think somebody called me and said, there's this guy here. So I get there, and it's this black dude. He's about 6'8". I mean, this guy's huge, man. And so she goes, "Oh no." I go, "What?" She goes, she was seeing him too. I mean, he was married, but he was claiming her. And I was like, so I got out and went over to talk to him. And I told him to call the police, And so we had words. And then the cops showed up, made him leave. And it turned out she had warrants and they arrested her and took her to jail. And this guy, like we were fighting over this chick. So she got out of jail, and but she already had a kid by him, she had a small kid already. Don't ask me how I got involved with all this drama, man. But he I said, forget about it, I don't know, but in the end, she I got her pregnant, and but then I found out she was seeing him, and I kicked her out. And then she was down in San Jose, and she was saying living in the tack shed. You know what the tack is? that's where they store all the harnesses and saddles and stuff for the horses, because she was out at the horse ranch and she was staying in the tack shed. And I went down there and I said to bring her some supplies because she was pregnant with my kid. And I saw that. I said, no, no, come on. And I snatched her up and took her back to the house. And then took her to all her appointments. And then Manny was born. She didn't want anything to do with him. But it's weird because her family had wanted her to get an abortion, but she fought them. She said, Manny wants this baby. So God bless her for that, you know. She did that. And then he was born, and I took him to all his doctor's appointments. I fed him and changed him. I mean, my mom helped for a while because she had a cesarean birth. Shit, that night he was born, man. Because we were living in Oakland, and my warehouse was in San Leandro, right off the marina there. And I was just getting off the freeway, and she goes, my water broke. And I said, oh, shit, let me turn around. She goes, no, I got to go to the bathroom first. I got to pee first. So I took her over to the warehouse, which was right off the freeway. And she went, and then we drove out to, we had to go to Alta Bates in Berkeley. So we got to Alta Bates in Berkeley, and I took her in there. And then my stepdaughter, Jolene, showed up. She was with one of her buddies. She was drunk. And they go, okay, now she's going to be okay. It's going to be a while. I said, well, then I can go back to work. She goes, yeah. So I said, okay. And so I get on the freeway in Berkeley, and I get all the way down. I'm just getting ready to get off the off-ramp in San Leandro. And then Jolene calls me. She goes, quick, you got to come back, quick, quick. They can't find the baby's heartbeat. So then I turn around, and I head back to Alta Bates, and I get there, and they go, we have to do cesarean. So I said, okay. And so they were gowning me and gloving me, and she goes, don't get nervous. I said, I'm not nervous, you know. And so they took me into the delivery room, and the doctor, he was such a nice guy, Rastafarian. So he had these freaking braids like crazy, and then he stuffed them all under. He had this big old top multicolored hat. So they put the tent up, and I'm up there by her head holding her hand, and you can just see that his big old hat moving all over the place while he was working. And then he pulled Manny out, and then they had me do the ceremonial cutting the umbilical cord, and then I went outside for a little while because they had to clean him up and do all this stuff. And my sister Vic was there. She's the oldest, the one I'm closest to, and it was weird. December 20th, 1998, and then it was a light snow started coming down in Berkeley, and then later we went back up, and I get to hold him for the first time.
Over 25 now?
He'll be 26 December 20th.
Okay. And what's his?
He's working for me right now.
Okay.
But what he wants to do is go to the gunsmith school. So we'll be working on that after the first year. I mean, there's not a lot of them around, man. We tried to get a gunsmith over in Martinez. You have to make an appointment. Even Tracy, you have to make an appointment. They only come once a week. So, and he loves, I mean, we have several guns. We have 2 Glock 9mm, and he has a Tikka, which is a long-range scoped rifle. Then we have the AR-15. That's my favorite, but I think that'll be good. After he finished high school, he was he wanted to go into the Marines because he wanted to take sniper training, and then It's always a woman. So then he decided against it, and now, but so now he's working for me now, and then he wants to still go to school. He just bought a new motorcycle too, Ninja 500, brand new. He had bought one, I think, back in 2019, brand new. It got stolen and they trashed it, but so I just hope he's careful.
Yeah. It's more of the drivers he's around.
Well, he said he's going to go take the driver safety course through the Highway Patrol. I think he does that next week, you know. But you know what? He's a good kid, man.
Yeah.
He's never taken a drink or a drug, and he has very good manners. Well, you know, I told him growing up, 2 rules: you got to tell the truth and you got to have good manners, you know. So he's held pretty much to that. But he's a good kid. I'm very proud of him. He's got a good heart.
That's awesome. And you said you have a big family, so with having a big family, do you see? Do you guys ever all get together once a year or anything?
A couple times.
A couple times. Where is that usually at?
Well, we for Thanksgiving. Well, my sister, she's going to hold for Thanksgiving. All the families, the kids, they hold their own little private Thanksgiving, and then the big one will be on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We all meet at my sister's house, and then and then Christmas. I don't know where we're going to do Christmas yet, but we've been doing stuff over my brother John's. Like I said, things changed a lot after my mom passed away, but things had gotten, I don't know, because my mom was arguing with one of my sisters. So, but I don't take, because my mom was suffering from, you know, dementia also. So she forgets or she get really angry. So I wasn't taking a lot of things they were saying. I wasn't taking it, you know, as hardcore truth as to her feelings and stuff. But because we used to have big, we had started a family reunion in 2016. We had that going for a few years. So with that, my mom was still alive. My Auntie Reyes, my Auntie Dolores, I was talking about, and my Uncle Robert. Those 4 were the kids that were all alive back then. And so then we would have all my mom's children. Each of them had their children, you know, sons and daughters. And then those would have their sons and daughters, and then their sons and daughters. So there was like 4 generations out there. So there was probably close to 400 of us.
Wow.
Just the immediate right there.
Wow.
Now my family came to Stockton in 1914, and they I still have the articles. They did a big story about us. They dedicated Valverde Park over there in Stockton, another one in Lathrop. So there's a couple thousand of us over there.
Wow.
And don't ask me to name them all.
Because it'll sound like numbers.
Well, shoot, man, it's hard enough for me, because I'm out of town so much, it's hard enough for me keeping up with just the immediate cousins and their kids and stuff, you know. And now there's a whole new generation coming up, the little ones, you know. But it's good, you know.
So you understand Abraham, God said, be fruitful.
I love the kids, you know, because for a while there was a big dry spell, no little kids, because my my brothers and sisters, their kids weren't old enough to have kids yet. Yeah. or their kids weren't old enough to have kids yet. And there's that space, but now there's all kinds of little ones running around.
That's awesome, though.
I know, but I like that. You know, in the apartment we live in, this family moved in with a bunch of little kids, and you could just hear them running and running all, you know, at night. That was great for me. I loved that, man. Remind me of the old days.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I'd be taking care of 5 or 6 of them at a time, you know, when they were little. You know, did all that church stuff with them, sports. It was just good, man. Time goes by so fast, dude.
Right. It does. Okay. You said you keep contact with Sandy was your second wife, and then that other. What was the name of Manny's mom again?
Oh, fuck, how can I forget her name? Laura.
Okay.
So there was Sandra. There was the 2 Sandras, and there was Laura, and then Jenny.
Okay. And you said and just like you said, Laura's no, sorry, Sandra's or daughters. You said you keep in contact with them. You said one of them was coming up on 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when their mom and I split, they said we're not giving them up.
Yeah. Good.
And so their mom was pissed about that, you know. It's funny because she hated me at first, then we were friends, then she hated me again. Now she hates me again. I don't know. I think because I like Trump. Because she's hardcore lefty, commie Democrat, dipped in blue. But, you know, still love her. The thing is, all those women that I was married to, that I had that close a relationship, they helped me. You know, they helped me in my sobriety, dude. And just, I don't know, Laura gave me Manny, you know. And then Sandy gave me the other kids, Laura and Jolynn, but then they had grandkids in return. And then from my association with Laura, she had this one little girl. She was 14 at the time, and Laura got awarded her to be her ward because she had been molested by her real dad, and he took off to Mexico, and she was a little, you know, little cholo gangbanger little girl, man. And then you know, I met her, and you know, we talked a lot, and then one day I showed up at the house because I wanted to I was going over to see Laura, and I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Nothing." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, you got a job?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "I want to work." I said, "Are you sure you want to work?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'm gonna work your ass off." She goes, so she started working for me from the age of 15 till she was 19.
Wow.
And then she was 19. She asked me about going in the Army. And I said, "I think it would be great for you, you know." And there was this guy, he was like 24, and he wanted to marry her before she went in. I said, "Don't do it." And she goes, "Why?" I said, "Look, you're about to begin the greatest adventure of your life. You know, it'll be a lot better. I mean, if you really love him, you know, you want to do that and settle down, but it'll be hard. I don't even think the marriage will last." So she let him cut him loose, and then sure enough, she went in and basic training, and she sends me a note. She goes, she said, they told me basic training was going to be hard. She goes, after working for you, this ain't shit.
That's funny.
So she did 3 tours overseas.
Wow.
She's over in El Paso now. She'll probably be retiring before she's 40, or probably before she's 45 from the military. She reached the rank of top sergeant. You know what the top is? Well, there's several. She could be top, is the top sergeant, the highest ranking sergeant for her unit, or it could be for the it could be for her company, or it could be division or battalion. So I think she was top sergeant for the division, which is huge. But going overseas is what helped her make rank. I haven't seen her for a couple of years now, but that's okay. She changed her life. She did good. That's all I care about.
That is awesome. Yeah. You helped change her life.
She helped change her life.
Yeah, but I mean, you're part of that. You might have been that pivot point.
Well, she made the decisions. That's how we ended up in the Reagan Library.
Yeah.
Well, we went to go drop her off at the bus station, the terminal for them in Sacramento. And then I had Manny and 2 of Jenny's kids, and we were driving by the state capitol. I said, hey, you guys want to go look inside the state capitol? They go, yeah. They're all little kids. Yeah. So we went in, and they had, because they were doing, I don't know if they had just completed the Reagan Library or it was an anniversary or something. And then they had a big guest register. And so I said, oh, come on, let's sign the book. And then I was reading, said, once they filled out the book, and then it was going to be sent over to the Reagan Library. So all of us got up and signed the book. So we're in the Reagan Library.
Nice. You got parks named after you?
Not me, from those who came before. But there's so many of us that I don't even know a lot of them. But we got cops and judges, then we got criminals on the other side. One that broke my aunt's heart. Her grandson committed bank robbery in Stockton. And he killed a woman, but the cops killed him. But see, and her 2 sons had gone to prison too, and but they're okay now. They're doing good. But I don't know. Just a lot of us, my cousins and stuff, we all turned out so different. All my sisters were teachers. 2 were teachers. 1 was a nurse, and then my brother John, who retired from DVI, the prison system. My other brother Andrew, he did all that work through University of Pacific for the mentally handicapped, and then me and my brother Gabe, the bums. All musicians are bums. Yeah. It's been a good life, though.
Yes. Especially if you've, you don't owe a ton of money. You don't have to make a ton of amends. You don't have to, clean up just this, Mount Everest of, problems that, like you've cleaned it up and you've helped others and all that. So you're part of the solution to life rather than the big the big problem of life.
Well, I've stayed. We still didn't even get around till I got here.
Yeah.
Because let's see, Manny was born. We were in Stockton, and then when I hooked up with Jenny, we were still in that house, and then we sold the house in Stockton and moved to Newman. They built us a brand new house, and then I was out there with in Newman with Jenny, and then we split up. She started drinking. You know, I wanted to hold on to her, but couldn't do it. But I helped her buy another house in Stockton. But in the end, she ended up. I helped put her through school. At the end, she went to UOP. She graduated from UOP, and just she lost everything. The kids got sent back to Montana, where their dad was. She lost the house. She had a set for life job with the San Joaquin County as a health inspector. That's not the title, but that's what it was. So, but I'm happy to say now she's doing very well. She's been sober, clean sober for a while now. But it wasn't meant to be for us. She had to find her recovery or redemption somewhere else, you know. And then we were in Newman, and and gave up the house in Newman. That's when Manny was little, and that's when I was commuting back to Oakland. I was working in Oakland, and then Sammy, because it was hard because I was trying to. People came to help watch Manny at night after Jenny left, and then finally we found Sammy, and she used to watch Manny since he was little, you know. And then she came with us to Tracy. I told her I couldn't afford to pay her anymore, but she said, I'll be a roommate. But she still watched him and took care of him till he graduated high school. Then she passed away. Well, she got sick, and then we had to take care of her for a while until she passed away. And then we, yeah, we had moved from Newman. That's when we were in Tracy. And then after, because I had wanted to move closer out here, but we were still taking care of her. Then after she passed away, then we made the move out here. So we've been out here since, I don't know, what year was COVID?
2020.
Yeah. So we came out here in 2020 after she passed away, and then we've been here ever since. But so I had established home groups. I started up a new meeting when I was in Newman, but I had a home group in Stockton at the Pershing Fellowship when I got sober. So I had home group at the Island Fellowship when I first got sober. And then the one in Tracy at Tracy Fellowship. And I used to go to meetings in Turlock and Modesto, Manteca. I spoke up at, is that Grass Valley up there? Or Valley Springs? I forget. Maybe it's Valley Springs. And Merced. And then I spoke up. I used to speak up at Duffy's, but I guess whoever ran that, she must have got a different job because they stopped calling me. Because I used to take people up there too. And then San Francisco, Oakland. I've been around quite a bit. Then I used to go to the Yosemite conference every summer. But now they discontinue that. That's a big bummer.
Is that because of COVID?
Well, there was a lot of things happening. Even before COVID, they had they had like this big rock slide up there, and then they had some kind of thing. It wasn't COVID, but there was some kind of thing going around up there. And then they shut it down to refurbish it. And then COVID came, and then I was trying to sign up for it last year, and they said, oh, we've discontinued it. It was called Serenity in Yosemite. But people would come from all over the world to go to that, all over the country, you know. It was cool, man. But another one I used to like was the conference in Monterey, and then they stopped having them over there. Now mostly like they just finished the Sacramento one, so the next one's going to be in Modesto. Have you been to one of the big conferences?
Not for a long time.
I used to go all the time. I've been to tons of them, man. And then after the one in Modesto, I don't know. Hopefully they're going to have the one in San Ramon again. That was always my favorite, but and then that's the one I've been to the most. But I've always stayed involved. I've been working the hotline, Modesto hotline, probably for over 15 years. And then I've been thinking about H&I, but then I got the cancer surgery came up, and I'm blessed. God saved my life again. So I don't know. He just keeps telling me, I'm not done with you, punk. You got to pay me back for all the times you robbed my friggin' church. But there's a lot of things I've done that I don't talk about, as for paying the debt.
Yeah.
But then if I talk about it, I'm not paying the debt. There's Manny. What else you got?
So, anything you'd want to close with as far as like, if you could, leave a message for your family, friends?
Oh, you're making it sound like this is my death thing.
No. This is like sort of like a closing argument or something. If you were to wrap up, all the stuff you shared and.
Well, I've been through a lot with my brothers and sisters, man. Each of them I've had a different type of relationship with, that each had played a part in my life. And certain, I've been away from town often, but, there's always memorable things or for a time that I spent with them, and I love them all, and sometimes I argue with them. I hate to see them argue with each other, especially at this stage in our life, You don't have that much time, man. And I've been close to death a couple of times, and you need to appreciate life and the people around you. I know that sounds kind of corny and, but I don't know, man. Resentments are the true darkness of the spirit. Yeah. It keeps people apart, and just want everybody to be able to sit at the same table for once. We haven't done it in a long time. Yeah. But I continue the journey. I keep making new friends like you, great friends. And I don't really sponsor a lot of people. 3 of my sponsees died. I still have a couple I keep in touch with, but nowadays, people still come to talk to me, but it's usually people that have longer term sobriety, but which is fine, and I go to them. But I'm just waiting to see what's around the corner. Right now, I'm just waiting to get Tracy home. I've been working on that. It's been like 5 years. I haven't seen her, talked to her. And even that relationship has changed over time, And see, because when she left here, we've always been friends, close friends, and she said she was going to Florida to a rehab, and went to a rehab and took a side trip to prison. But yeah, and then the last thing she did was steal my frickin' credit card. Yeah, it's all right though. And then as soon as she got busted over there, then her mom said, she tried calling me and texting me, and I wouldn't answer the calls. You know, and her mom said, she wants to talk to you. And I said, I don't want to talk to her. She freaking stole my credit card. And what? I know what she wants. She wants money, you know. And then, so finally I did talk to her, and you know, I'm not believing her, trusting anything. Oh, I love you. You know, I didn't realize it till just now. And, you know, my head goes cha-ching. So, but then we kept talking, and then I know we've always cared about each other, but there's no way I was going to hook up with somebody that was, you know, all messed up like that.
Yeah.
I got rid of women out of my life because, you know, they couldn't find recovery, not with me anyway.
Yeah.
So, and the other ones I got rid of because Manny was still young and I didn't want that around him. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. She said yesterday she was working on her 5th step with her sponsor. She's been going to church and she's involved. But, you know, that desperate need that she had when she first got there, you know. So I don't know what it's going to be like when she comes back. I mean, she's a highly intelligent woman. She's motivated. She's very resourceful. And she's beautiful. But we'll see. I'm not going to regret helping her, you know. I just want her to do good. I mean, I used to be with her best friend, Karen.
Yeah.
Karen's dead now because she couldn't get past her past.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta let the ghosts go, man. Shit. Just like I was talking about this guy who molested one of my granddaughters, one of my Jolene's sister, Laura. No, because somebody in the meeting was talking about how much they hate somebody, you know. And I would have killed that son of a bitch, man. But they didn't tell me till after he was in police custody.
Yeah.
You know, but what hurt me even more is I had the kids with me. I was watching them during the day, and I handed her over to that son of a bitch that night. Fuck. But, you know, that was quite a few years ago. And God gave me a nice long pause. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't hate like that him now. I did then.
Yeah.
And I can remember those feelings, but I don't have to act on anything now, you know.
Right.
But it's okay to be angry, you know. There's bad guys out there. Sometimes life's not fair, man, but sometimes you just got to take it.
Yeah. It's part of growing pains.
You know. So I guess that's about it, man.